Good morning, this is the Big JB from Morning Thunder. I didn't do one yesterday because I got in very late. Had a very rough night on Monday night for reasons I shall not go into here, but I ended up trying to get a little bit extra rest yesterday morning and kind of take my time getting ready. Been struggling with some stomach issues. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not sure if it's stress or what, but not enjoyable. I guess the positive to that is that I don't eat when I'm stressed, so I've lost some weight. But it's not my preferred method of losing weight. I'm going to have a sip of my tea, excuse me. A little English breakfast for tea this morning. Had a tough phone call with somebody last night. I'm not going to go into the details of that or the reasons why it was tough, but it didn't go well, and I don't like that. And I can be a very temperamental person, meaning that emotion tends to run pretty strong with me. As I've gotten older, I have balanced my emotional response to things, whereas I used to register things with the emotions and react right away. I still register with the emotions, but I'm able to control my responses a little bit and take a moment to sort of weigh whether or not something is registering with me. And for the most part, in the conversation, I was able to do that until it got toward the end, and it was rather heated. It escalated pretty quickly, and I hung up on the individual that I was talking to, without exactly saying goodbye or, okay, I'm hanging up now. And if there's anything that I should have changed about that, about the conversation, it was definitely that. At the moment, I felt like the conversation wasn't going to get any better, but it was only going to get worse, so I decided to end the call. Pridefully, there probably was part of me that wanted the last word, and so that I would have changed if I had to do it over again. The cause for the call ending as negatively as it was, as I was being challenged and accused of things and being told how I was behaving and whether or not I did or didn't do something. And it wasn't something that was a tangible thing, like you didn't pay that bill. It was along the lines of, well, it was that I hadn't forgiven somebody, and that being challenged that as a Christian that I was supposed to be forgiving, and I had responded that I had in fact forgiven the individual in question, and was responded that no, or the response was no, I hadn't, and that's one thing that I don't tolerate. I don't think anybody has a right to tell you, unless they are a mentor or a minister of some kind and listening to your story, to tell you whether or not you really have forgiven somebody. Forgiveness is a tough subject, I think, because oftentimes we think that when we forgive somebody, or when we come to a place of forgiveness, that means that the feelings that go along with that, the feelings of hurt, betrayal, offense, whatever they are that are connected with that, are supposed to be somehow stopped, or that we have to get to a point where we feel like forgiving somebody and then we can forgive them. The reality is that forgiveness is an act of your will. You are choosing to forgive somebody of their offense. That means that you are letting go the judgment of that person's actions and releasing it, whether it's to the universe, whether it's to cause and effect, whether you believe in something divine or not. For Christians, it's, releasing that person. So rather than sitting in a place of judgment over that person and holding them accountable yourself, you're releasing that into God's care and saying, okay, I don't need to be the judge of this person anymore. I don't want to carry the responsibility for this. I'm forgiving them, and you're choosing to forgive. The feelings that go along with it still have to be dealt with. There still are emotions that can be very strong. You can still feel hurt and feel wronged, but still having forgiven somebody. And I think that people have I think that's a really hard concept in our society. forgiveness in general, I think, is a difficult concept for people in our society. Very rarely do you hear somebody say, hey, forgive me for doing this. A lot of times it's like, well, forgive me if I sound cruel, but, and then, of course, the person launches into sounding cruel. But really, I mean, when I ask for somebody to forgive me for something, I'm asking them to accept an apology, to not hold it against me, to release me essentially from their judgment, and trust that if there's something that's going to be carried out, or some consequence, whether it's spiritual, emotional, or whatever, that that's going to happen. Here comes another non-SUV parking, or non-SUV, non-compact car parking in a compact spot. This giant Acura that's pulling in here next to me. I'm not sure if you can see that. Anyway, grinds my gears. So, I have forgiven lots of people, and I've forgiven lots of circumstances. 4 years ago, I went through something very, very painful with an employer and 2 managers. They were deceptive, manipulative, and just really, really, as a friend of mine from the UK would say, they're real pieces of work. I don't know if this, sorry, I'm paying attention to this car because they apparently decided not to park next to me. I wonder if it's because I was sitting in my car. Anyway, the managers in question, it was horrible, a really horrible situation, to the point where it put me in some personal distress. Just say that. It was a great day when I found out that they were laying me off. So it was one of the best days ever. Anyway, I really dealt with a lot of hurt from that event, because I had put so much of myself into it, and I've looked back since then and learned that there are things that I definitely could have done differently, to improve my performance, and all other kinds of things while I was at that job. However, it still doesn't excuse them for the way that they treated me. And it took me a while to forgive them. I still, every once in a while, wrestle with feelings of bitterness and anger over that. But I try to sort of think about it and then put it aside and I don't want to say rationalize it, because I'm not trying to explain it away. What I am trying to do is see it from a different point of view and change my perspective on it. Those people manage the only way that they know how to manage, and they do what they think is best. And I don't happen to agree with that. I don't think that they are good managers. I don't think that they deserve to be in the positions that they're in. But that doesn't mean that I have a right to hang on to that and wish them ill, or hope that bad things happen to them or anything like that. So I've forgiven them, I have released them, and every once in a while when I think about that situation, I feel sad, because those people are so messed up to have treated me and continue to treat other people that way. And I really do hope for the best for them, in terms of them getting their life straightened out. Whatever has happened in their lives that has led them to believe that that's the way that you manage people, seems strangely inappropriate or wrong. So in the same way, family members or friends or whatever that have done wrong by you, I think you can forgive and you deal with the emotions. It doesn't mean that you dismiss their behavior. If I was, let's say I was physically abused by somebody, there may come a point at which I have gone through counseling and I have processed and dealt with that thing. That doesn't excuse the fact that I was abused. And now I wasn't physically abused. So I'm just giving this as an example. It doesn't change the fact that you may have been abused. And yes, there are still things that have to be dealt with, but essentially what you're doing is you're forgiving that person, you're taking out your right to be their judge and your right to condemn or wish them ill will or whatever, but you still have to deal with the consequences, and it does not excuse the behavior of that person. If you were to try to have a relationship with somebody who had been physically abusive, clearly there would have to be guidelines and boundaries on how that would work. And so, I think that that's true. And obviously that's an extreme example. But a lot of times we feel betrayed or we feel abused by somebody's actions. And I think that we have to be careful, just because maybe we have forgiven somebody, we have to be careful not to walk back into that same situation. You have to have boundaries. You have to have standards. And so I think it's a very difficult thing for people. We want to forgive. We want to see things restored back to the way that they're supposed to be. And sometimes we're so eager for that. I think we step back into that. We step back into those relationships without setting up good boundaries for ourselves, without setting up fair expectations on what the relationship should look like. So I think that when you decide to do that, not everybody's going to understand or agree. Not everybody has to. And nobody has the right to tell you where your boundaries should be except for you. Now, if you have no boundaries and you're letting people walk all over you, clearly you have friends and family or mentors or whatever who should be able to tell you, you need to tighten up your boundaries a little bit here. You need to stand up for yourself. But if you decide to set a boundary, people are, I think people are welcome, and I welcome people saying, I don't think that that's a fair line to set up or a fair expectation. But it's not really their place. And that person has a right and has a decision to say, well, I don't agree with you and I'm not going to change it, or they can evaluate it and see if it's something that they want to change. It takes a lot of maturity to do that. It's not an easy thing. I think it's a difficult thing for both parties to be able to release somebody and say, okay, you know what, that person is doing what they're doing, that's their decision. I don't have to agree with it. I don't think it's the best choice. I've said my piece, and I think that if they decide not to do anything with it, then that's okay. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to hate that person or choose to think that they're despicable or anything else like that. So, yeah, clearly it's something that I'm passionate about. This may sound really arrogant, and I don't know if the person in question that I had the phone call with is even going to watch this video. But I don't have any regrets, except for those little things that I could have done different, like not hanging up on the person, or some different, maybe making some different choices in the past and how I expressed some things. But I've tried to live my life with no regrets. And if there's something that I wish that I had changed, I really have tried to make amends and tried to change it. And so I'm not sitting in, I don't have a temper. I'm not depressed. I don't feel despondent about things. I feel that I'm enjoying Christmas season. I have a smile on my face, and I'm going to go about my day with a lot of joy, and I'm not upset about how things are going. So it's just kind of where I am. The way that others feel, and this is a really tough boundary to establish. Other people's emotions don't have to change your emotions. It's okay for somebody else to feel angry and for you not to feel upset about that, or to let their anger affect you. I don't need to walk around morose and somber because somebody's angry with me or they don't like something that I'm doing. It's okay if they feel that way. I understand if somebody feels that way toward me, and I'm more than happy to talk about it and try to give some perspective, but I'm not going to let it affect me to the point where I've got to change my behavior as if their anger somehow, or whatever their emotion is, somehow has to change who I am or how I feel. So I know it's been a longer video today, but I just had a lot on my heart this morning, I guess. Tonight I am going to youth group, and I'm going to be ministering with my wife. I haven't been to youth group in a long time, and I'm very, very excited to go do that again. And I'm really looking forward to speaking with my wife. We are a great team, and I can't wait for that. So that should be fun. This has been the Big JB. Please follow me on Twitter at VoiceOfTheBigJB. I thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.